Hi everybody, it's Crystal. So today I'm going to show you how to crochet this. This would be gender neutral. It could be for a man or a woman. It's actually relatively easy. I have two colors, a main color and a contrasting color. And it's made with the mini brick stitch. And then all the contrasting color you see, the blue, is all single crochet just to trim it. And it does have single crochet, blue trim at the bottom. You can leave the pocket off. Perfectly fine, or you could put two pockets on it, put them down here, do whatever you want. And then it's got these are 3/4 inch buttons. I have 6 of them. What else? Collar. It's easy, you guys can do it. It's made with one solid back panel and then 2 side panels. We sew one here, and then we sew the sleeves on as well right here, and then we sew up the sides. And then we put the trim on. Sew on some buttons, sew on a pocket, and we're good to go. All right, the person there you see wearing that in the video, or in the picture, there is my husband there. And just for reference, this is size large/extra large. That's what he's wearing. That's what he normally wears in shirts. And he is 6 foot tall. Now, you're pretty much going to be referring to the description box for chain counts for different sizes, like per panel. There'll be a gauge down there, and whatever size you look for your size, and then it'll have what size panel you need and the approximate size that'll be. Like I said, there'll be a gauge though if you do gauge your work. You can make it longer if you choose, but down in the description box, it's going to be for this length right here, and all the dimensions will be down there. The amount of yarn that is needed is approximate. You'll see that down there for each size. Please remember that is approximate. I wouldn't know exactly unless I did each size on its own, but it is the estimated to the best of my ability. But I can, the extra large size, of course, is going to be pretty close because that's what I did. All right, so I think it's pretty cool. I like it, actually. I would wear it if it was smaller. It's too big for me, but all right, I'm going to show you the yarn that I used. And remember, you just go to the description box, find the size that you want to make. The measurements will be there, and go by that on how to make the sizes of your panels and everything. And after that, I'll show you how to do the stitch real quick. And after that, once you get all your panels made to the correct size, come back here, we'll sew it all up. I'll show you how to do all the trimming, and that's it. It's actually really easy. All right, I'm going to show you the yarn I used. All right, for this particular shirt that you're seeing, I used a Lionbrand 100% Superwash merino. It's classified as a lightweight number 3. It is a bit on the thin side of a lightweight 3, but that's okay. Like I said, there is a gauge down there. So, plus there'll be measurements. So if you want to use a different yarn, you can kind of just make your panels the measurements that it says, you know what I mean? But there are 306 yards in this bowl, or 280 meters. The colors that I used, well, I'll have that all, I'll just tell you real quick. I used mustard seed was my main color, and then the accent color that I used was this blue, and I think it's just called navy. No, midnight blue. All right, same. And like I said, all the yardage will be down there. You can use the yarn that you want. Look for the gauge, look for the size. And we're going to be using a size H 5mm crochet hook. All right, I'm going to show you how to do the mini brick stitch. And then you just need to go by your size below on the chain count and, how big of a panel. And then once you get all your panels made, we'll come back and we'll do the rest. Super simple. You got this. Even if you think you can't do clothing, it's so easy. You can do it, I promise. I always say I would not tell you that you could do it if I didn't think that you could. All right, let's do this. All right, remember to refer to the description box for the size that you want, and it'll give you a chain count for what you need to start your chain with to equal that size, if you look at the gauge and everything there. Okay, so this is how all 5 panels are done using the mini brick stitch. All right, so and it's done in an even number of stitches. So this is how it is done. We're going to do a single crochet in the second chain from our hook, so we don't count this one. We skip that one and go to the next, and we single crochet into that second stitch, and then we're going to work across, putting one single crochet into every stitch for the length of the chain. So row 1 is just single crochet in every stitch, and I will meet back up with you when we make it to the end of the row. Alright, so I made it to the end of row 1. Row 2, we are going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch, and turn our work. We're going to put a single crochet into that very first stitch. And then we're going to start the repeat of the row. We are just going to chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into the next. Chain 1, skip 1, and single crochet into the next. How easy is that? Chain 1, skip 1, and single into the next. And we're going to repeat this pattern of chaining 1 and skipping 1 and single crocheting into the next until we get to the end of row 2. Alright, so at the end of row 2, you should have been able to end it with the complete repeat by ending with the single crochet into your last stitch. So now we're going to start row 3. So rows 3 and 4 are the repeat rows, so it's just a 2-row repeat, and it's extremely easy to do. So for row 3, we're going to chain 1. Again, that does not count as a stitch, and turn our work. Now we're going to work back into this very first single crochet here, and we're going to work a half double crochet. So we're going to yarn over, go into that very first stitch, and then half double. That. All right, and now we're going to start the repeat of row 3. We are going to work 2 half double crochets in the chain space of every chain from the previous row. So there's one, I'm going to go back in the same chain space and put another. So there's 2 half doubles right there. Now I'm going to find the next chain space, so right here. So we're just skipping that single and working directly into the chain space, just like that. And we work 2 half doubles into the chain space. Again, we're going to skip this single right here and find the next chain space. 2 half double crochets into that chain space, and 2 half double crochets into every single chain space until we make it to the end of our row. You will be finishing this up in no time. Alright, I'm going to continue this repeat, 2 half doubles in every chain space, and I will see you when we get to the last stitch. Alright, I'm coming to the end of row 3. I put 2 half doubles in my last chain space, and I'm going to end by putting 1 half double crochet into my last stitch here. That ends row 3, and that is what she looks like. Alright, let's do the last repeat row, row 4. Chain 1 again, doesn't count as a stitch, and we're going to turn our work. Alright, we are going to single crochet right here back into the very first stitch. Now what we're going to do is we are going to chain 1, and we're going to work, we're going to skip these 2 half double crochets right here, and we're going to work in between them. So we're not working into the top of any stitches, we're working in between the sets of the 2 half double crochets. If I said double at any time, I'm sorry. This is only half doubles that we're working. So that's where we'll be working our single crochets, not on top of any stitch, but in between the sets. So I single crocheted in my first stitch and I chained 1. So I'm going to come over here to the space between the next these sets of 2 half double crochets. So just right in between, not on top of any stitch, and single crochet. And this is what we're going to repeat. we're going to chain 1 again, and then we're going to find here's our set of 2 half doubles here and here. So in this space right in between them, we single crochet. Again, we chain 1, and here's a set of 2 half doubles, and here's a set of 2 half doubles. So that space right in between them, single crochet. Chain 1. Here's our set of 2 half doubles right here and here. So the space in between, single crochet, chain 1, and we're going to do this all the way down until we get to the end. And it splits. My yarn splitting. All right, I'm just going to continue this. I'm almost to the end here, so let me finish it out. And that will be the end of the repeat row. All right, so I've made it here. Here's a set of half doubles, a set of half doubles, and then a last stitch here. So we're going to just go in between these last 2 sets, single crochet, chain 1, and then skip these 2 half doubles here, and single crochet, and the last. There it is. There it is. So by going in between those half doubles like that, it gives you a little bit more of a definition. Now you can kind of see that a little bit better. So that's it. You just keep repeating rows 3 and 4. So I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to repeat row 3, which is the half double row. So we half double into the very first stitch, and 2 half doubles into every single chain space until we make it to the end of the row, and then we end with 1 half double in the last stitch. So you just want to keep repeating rows 3 and 4, 3 and 4, 3 and 4, until you get to whatever it says there on your, for the size that you're doing. And you can make it longer or shorter, like I mentioned. The size that's in the description that you choose, they're all going to be the same length. And you can see, I told you my husband was 6 foot. So if you want yours shorter or longer, by all means, you make your panels shorter if you want. Now you do want to end on a row 3 repeat. So the row that we're doing right now, you want to end on this half double crochet row. And that's it. Rows 3 and 4, 3 and 4. So quick. You'll be finished in no time. Once you get these panels made, super easy. We'll get these sewed together, super easy. Make a pocket if you want, super easy. If not, even easier. Put the collar on, super easy. I'm gonna half double in that last stitch. There it is. So again, I would just repeat row 4, and that's what I keep doing. Okay. Remember, refer to the description box for all the info that you could ever need for the sizes, are all down there. All right. Change it up too if you want. Like you want to add different things, make it a different size, longer sleeves, shorter sleeves. Hey, the sky's the limit. You do you, all right? Or you can make it just like mine. But I want to see it. All right. So get them panels finished, and we'll get them sewed up. All right, it's time to get some sewing going on. All right, so why don't we go ahead and get it fixed up how we got to have it fixed up. So we're going to sew it wrong side out. So your back panel, you want to put it where the right side of your work is facing you. And I'm making the little squarey dillies going straight up, I guess, if that makes sense. Like that, but you do yours however you want. So that's my back. It's facing me. Right side is facing me, because when we sew it and then we flip it inside out, we want this will be facing the right side. Now our side panels, we need them facing, this is the wrong side. For me it is, but whatever you choose to be wrong and right. This, for me, this is the wrong side, and I want on my side panels, and I want them facing me. So let me make sure they're all going the correct way. So this panel will go up here. Okay. And then this panel, I want the wrong side facing me, but I need the, that's not it. the squares to be going up. All right, that's it. Here we go. So bottom panel, right side facing you. Top panels, wrong side facing you. And then I'm going to kind of just fold it in half here. I'm going to come up here to the top, and I am going to seam these together. Sew them. I'm sewing them. I'm using a yarn needle and a piece of yarn, and I'm going to sew them together. Now, they will, I'm going to leave a little bit of extra here unsewn to flap open, you know, for the neck hole. But I'll let you know how much here in just a second. So you want to start, I use a yarn needle. That's what I use, and a piece of yarn. And I'm going to start on this one. We're going to do them both the same. And I'm just going to grab the first stitch on this panel, and then the first stitch on the second panel. I'm going through both loops. Pull it through, and then I'm going to tie this tail to this tail here if you have one. Just, you know, the naughty no. All right. And now what I'm going to do is the back and forth method. So I'm going to grab the next stitch on this back panel and the next stitch on the front panel that's closest to me. Pull it through. And then the next stitch on this panel that's closest to me. It's actually the back panel, I guess. And then the corresponding stitch on the panel that's furthest away. And pull it through. And I'm going to do this all the way across. But I'm going to stop a little bit before I get all the way across. And generally I would go across, I would do this twice. I like go across and to where I'm going to go, and then I would go back again and do it one more time just to secure it, you know, make sure it's nice and tight. I don't want things falling apart, you know what I mean? You work hard for things. And for me, sewing is just like a necessity to keep it from falling apart. I'm sure that's not true for everybody, but that's kind of the way I learned it when I was young, you know. You sew all these together, but you don't make no knots in your crochet. I think I mentioned that before. So I'm going to continue this all the way down. This is how we're going to sew up both of the, this is how we're going to sew up the whole thing, actually. Just like this. So I think I'm going to go across. Let me go ahead and lay it out here so we can do a little bit of a marking here. Actually, I think I'm going to leave about, it doesn't have to be exact, you know. You can just eyeball it if you want. Normally I would, but I'll take a quick measurement. Let's see, if I left 3 inches here and 3 inches here, that would leave me shooting for 7 or 8. Too much. No, I'm making a collar though, so let me see what 2 inches leaves us. 2 inches here. I'm just thinking out loud. 2 inches here. Fold those over. Approximately there. I know where it's at. All right. I'm going to leave about 2.5 inches on each side open. On this side. And on this side is 2.5 probably. On this side as well. You can do more or less. And if you want to count your stitches to make sure you have the exact same amount on each side. But I'm going to continue across sewing it the same manner. Remember this, what I'm showing you now, this is how we're going to sew the whole piece. So it'll be done the same way. Alright, so I have sewn all the way over here. Here's my stopping point. And it's about, from my front panel, it's about 2.5 inches. And you want to do the same on both sides. If you want, like I said, if you want to count your stitches to get it exact, you can. I'll probably just eyeball it, but so I made it over there. So now what I'm going to do is just take my yarn. I'm just going to go back in the opposite direction again. So just like this. Go back down the other side. one more time. Not only does this hide your tail, it gives you some extra strength, I guess, on your seam. And then when you make it to the end, you want to hide, you know, I guess your tail will already be hidden, but if you want to hide it some more, that's fine. And then you want to do the same on the other panel, leaving the same amount of opening on that panel as you did on this one. Alright, so I'm going to go across here again, tie it off, and then I'll do this panel, this front side panel the same way as I did this one, and then we're going to sew the sleeves on. Alright, so I got my two panels sewed on, and the wrong side is still facing out. Here you can see the seam. This will be hidden later. But what I want to do now is flip it like this. So wrong side still facing out. This is one side, as you can see. This is the panel of one side, and I'm going to sew a sleeve on. Remember, still wrong side facing out. So we'll take our other panels that we made, and we got to get them looking lined up a bit, I guess. So we want to sew them wrong side out as well. Let's see, how do I want them to go? Wrong side out. And I suppose these things going downward, maybe, in a downward motion. Let me look. Okay, so yeah, I'm going to sew it wrong side out where my squares, they're going upward like right now when you look at them. If that even makes sense. I don't even know. But when I fold them down and sew them, they're going up this way. Like, this is the bottom. And they're going out that way, if that makes any sense. Alright, so anyways, I sew this on kind of the same way. I generally just eyeball it to try to get it, the center, lined up. That's usually what I do. But we can measure if you'd like. So we have to sew this sleeve on here, but we need it to be centered. So let's take our tape measure, see what we got here. 15 inches. So 7.5 would be my center point. And look at that. I want it to be centered with this. Dead on. Dead on. I just showed you I've done this way too many times. No, actually, that was just sheer luck. So what I like to do then, I mean, like I said, if you want to do this, is just kind of get a little guesstimate of the center. Since this is 15 inches, 7.5 center. Line it up with this seam here. And just grab a stitch at about 7.5 inches. Grab this seam here. And put a little stitch marker there. That's just for guidance. That way you know you're on the right track of, there we go. That's the center. And now we're just going to sew it together the same way that we sewed everything else. We're going to take a piece and we're going to line it up like this. And we're going to neatly sew it all the way down to the center. If you need to keep measurement so you know you're not stretching it too much on one side. And then sew up the center there really good. This will be the kind of like the, you know, the top shoulder area, I guess. And then you go back down on this side. So it's just all the way across, sewing it in the same manner that we've been sewing it. So I'm just going to kind of take it. Now, over here you're sewing it to, there are no stitches to go through. You're just kind of going through the sides of the stitches. But just do the best you can to kind of get it lined up the best you can. Kind of go through the side of a stitch on this panel. Like that. And then tie a little knot here at the end. And I'm going to do my back and forth method. Just want to make sure that you do it as neatly as possible. So I'm grabbing a stitch here, and then just kind of doing my best to grab a spot on the other side, because remember, the other panel that you're working on doesn't have clear stitches. It'll be like that, a few different spots, so we just have to do our best to evenly space out our stitches, keep everything in line the best you can. I'm going to do this all the way across, going to do both sleeves the exact same way. And then after that, we're going to sew up the body and the rest of the sleeve. The rest of the sleeve gets sewn when we sew the body up. We don't flip it right side out until we're finished sewing up the whole thing. And then we'll have to do a bunch of cleaning up edges and button rows and things like that to make it all look neat, I guess. Things you can always leave off if you don't like it. So what I do after I do a few rows like this, I go back and check and make sure that with my center here that it's not bunching up or anything, because if it starts to bunch up like this, that means you're putting in too many stitches on one side. You need to keep it nice and clean and straight. Alright, so I'm going to go all the way across to over here, tie my tail, tie off, and I'm going to do the other sleeve the exact same way. Alright, so once you get your sleeve sewed on, I still have the wrong side facing me, but I got this is the front side of the work, but still facing wrong side out, as you can see, because there's the seam. And here is the sleeve sewn on, but as you can see, it still needs to be sewed there. So this is how we sew up the sides, same manner. Just kind of get them lined up here. You know, you don't have to sew them up like me. You can sew them up any way you choose, but this is just how I always do it. So sew up the side as neatly as possible, and then I just kind of keep going around the armpit area here of the sleeve, and then back down to the end, and then that's how I sew up both sides the same. And then we'll flip it right side out after it's sewn up. When you get to the armpit area, maybe do a couple extra wraparound stitches or something there, a couple extra stitches through there, so it's nice and tight, since that's an area there that's, you know, you move your arms around a lot there. But yeah, just well, the way I sew it up, I just try to do it and try to keep my rows lined up as neatly as possible. I don't think it's going to be extremely noticeable on this one, but keep them lined up as much as possible, because as with when we were doing those sleeves, we don't want to have, when we get up here to the top, we don't want to have like a bunch up of yarn or a bunch up of fabric on one side. We want to make sure that it stays pretty even all the way down, and then all the way down the sleeve, and then do your other side, and then we'll flip it right side out. Alrighty, we are all seamed up. Now we need to flip it right side out and see how good we did. Those seams will settle over time. Nice, like that one. Remember to grab your sleeve, flip it inside out as well, or right side out. Let's check it out. Nice, like it. I like it. Alright, looks good to me. Now, I'm going to be doing some edging with this yellow yarn here before I switch colors. Alright, so, well, my main color yarn here, the yellow, is what I'm using. What I'm going to do, let me look here and think about it. I need to edge my piece with the main color before I go on to it with a different color. Because if I don't edge it first, and I try putting a darker color here along the sides without edging it, that it's going to look really noticeable and not very clean. Now you want clean edges no matter what you're doing. Always edge first in the same color that you're using and then if you want to use a different color, go on with that, because this is going to make give it a nice clean edge, and if it looks, you know, funky, you know, because you're trying to go into the sides of these stitches here, you know, you're just kind of evenly spacing out an edge, they're not going to be straight, you know, they're not going to be even. So if you do it with the same color yarn, it won't be noticeable. And then, but if I was to do it with a different color, it'd be highly noticeable. I can't have that. So, all right. So I think I need to. So we're gonna think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start at the bottom down here. One of the bottoms, right over here. And I am going to edge. I'm going to use this main color here with single crochet all around the bottom of the front panel, around the back of the back panel, just around the bottom, one single crochet in every stitch, back around to the other front panel here, and then I'll continue, and then I'm going to go up my side panels, and here I'll have to evenly space out my single crochets all the way up, and I'll have to go around the collar and the back of the neck and down the other side. So, well, why don't we just start out here at the bottom? So, got the right side of the work. It's flipped in, you know, right side out now. That's all flipped right side out. I'm going to use my main color here. I'm going to start doing some single crochets to clean up all my edges. Start right down here in the corner stitch here. Somewhere down here. Doesn't have to be perfect, because this is a cleanup edge. We're going to call it the cleanup edge. I'm going to chain one. I'll go back in that same stitch and a single crochet. Now I'm going to work across, and I'm going to put one single crochet in every single stitch all the way at the bottom. So this front panel, and then along the back as well. Just like this. So all around the bottom, single crochet just right over the seam, just kind of, when you get to the seam, just kind of evenly space out some single crochet over it. All along the back part here, single crochet all the way back to this seam, just kind of evenly space out some single crochet over it until you make it back around to the point of the bottom point of the other side of the front flap, and I'll meet back up with you there. So I'm just single crocheting all around the back, all around the bottom edge right now, and I'll meet up with you at the other side here at this corner down here at the bottom of this front panel. Alright, so I have made it all the way around the bottom, single crochet. So we started over here on the front flap, and I went all the way around back there, and I'm back over here to the other flap. So now I'm going to go up this flap, and then around the neck, and back down the other side, and we'll end up where we started. But first here, since we're down here at the bottom, here in the corner, before we turn the corner, we're going to round it off a little bit. Let's go ahead and put 3 single crochets in that corner stitch. There's 1, 2, and 3. Alright, so now we're going to be working up the side flap here, and there's not really going to be any, it's, you know, it's hard to see the stitches. So here we just kind of gotta evenly space out our single crochets the best that we can. There's no certain number that you need, but just do your best to kind of evenly space them out. So what I always try to do here when I'm doing this is, when you look at your you know, you get some single crochets going. I probably got too many there. You get some going along. If it starts to look wavy, that means you have too many single crochets. If it starts to get stretched, that means you don't have enough. So just do your best to evenly space them out. Usually I would say put 2 singles to every double, but we're working here along half double. So I guess, I don't know. I'm just gonna do my best, just like you, to evenly space them out. Remember, it's not going to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is why it's good if you're doing a different color for the buttonhole row and stuff, to do this row first in the same corresponding color as your main piece, because these are not going to be straight. You know, they're not going to be perfect. But doing them in the same color, you can't tell. So I'm just going to work my way up, like I said, doing the best I can to evenly space out my single crochets. Like I said, there doesn't need to be a certain number, but I'm going to go all the way up this flap, and I'll meet up with you here at the neckline at the top of this first front flap, okay? And we'll round this corner, and we'll do something special here at the crease of the neck. And then we'll do the same thing at the other crease of the neck and work our way back down. All right, so I'll meet back up with you at the top of this front flap. All right, so I've made it up to the top of my top here on the front panel, first front panel here. And at the corner stitch, we're going to round that corner off with 3 single crochets into that corner stitch, just like we did at the bottom. There's 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to go across this area right here that we left the flap open until we get right here, and then we're going to do something extra there. So just go ahead and you'll be able to see the single crochets pretty well. Should be able to. If not, you just evenly space them out. I guess it depends on how you sewed your piece together. But okay. All right, we're going to work on up to the seam area here. So here's my front panel. Here's the shoulder seam, and right back here is the back, where the back of our neck will be. So let's work up to this seam area, putting 1 single crochet here in every stitch. Okay. Now, there's your seam here. The stitch right before the seam and the stitch right after, we're going to put 2 single crochets in each of those. Since that stitch is kind of opened up quite a bit, I'm actually going to, no, it'll be all right. 2 single crochets in the stitch before the seam, like that, and then 2 single crochets in the stitch after the seam, just like that. So that just kind of made the neck opening a little bit wider. I got a little bit of a gap here from when I sewed my seam. I think I can take a needle and a piece of yarn and sew that up a little bit more later. If that happens to you, you can do the same. And now we're going to continue across the back here. Now I'm on my back up at the neck area where we will be putting a collar later. And I'm going to go across the back here with 1 single crochet in every stitch. until we get to the other side over here, the seam on the other side. All right, and I'll meet up with you there. All right, so I've made it across the back, and I come to my other seam. So we're going to do the same thing in the stitch before the seam, 2 singles, and the stitch after the seam, 2 singles. This is our shoulder seam. So 2 singles into this stitch, 1, 2, and then across the seam, 2 into that stitch, 1, 2. Now we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch here. We're going to start working on our flap here. So this is the little front flap area again on the other side. So we're going to work 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to the corner stitch, and we'll have to work 3 single crochets into that corner stitch. Just helps round that corner out a bit. Sorry if I was off camera. It's always hard to crochet and look into a camera at the same time. Alright, I'm going to hide this tail right here as I go. So, you make it to the corner here. You put 3 single crochets, just like we did on the other side. 1, 2, oops, 3. And now again, we're going to be working down the other side of the other front. We're going to work it down the other front panel. So again, it is just doing your best to evenly space out your single crochets just like you did on the other side. Now remember, it doesn't have to be the same amount on each side. We'll figure out a way to put some buttons on if you want to, even if our sides don't have the same number. And since we're evenly spacing out our single crochets here, none of us will probably have the same number, and that's okay. I don't even know how well of a job I'm doing here. Not very. So you see mine's kind of I'm going to try that again. Anyways, you continue to do your best to evenly space out single crochets all the way down, just like we did on the other side, down this last panel here until we get down here to the bottom. And this is where we started. All right, and I'll meet up with you at the bottom where we started. All right, so I've made it all the way down here to the corner stitch. My last stitch, you want to go ahead and put 3 single crochets in that last corner stitch, and then I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into my first single crochet and tie that off. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then one more thing I'm going to do with this main color is go around the sleeves real quick before I switch colors. Alright, so one last thing that I'm going to do with the main color is do 1 round of single crochet around the sleeves. So I got my sleeve here, and I'm on where the seam is of the sleeve. So I'm just going to go into a stitch that's near the seam, and pull my yarn through, chain 1, and then I'm going to go back in that same stitch and single crochet. Now you should be able to see your stitches pretty well on the sleeve. But if you sewed it a different way than me, then just evenly space out your single crochets. Try to get close to the same. If you can't see your stitches well like me, like if you sewed it in a different manner, just try to get as close to the same amount of stitches on both sleeves. Doesn't have to be exact, you know, couple stitches off is fine, but just try to get about the same amount. But if you can see your stitches like me, you'll have pretty close to the same amount. So I'm just going to work one single crochet here in my main color all the way around each sleeve one time, and when I make it back around, I'm just going to end with a slip stitch in my first single crochet and tie that off, and then I'm going to bring in my secondary color. I'll be done with this main color here for a while, possibly for good, unless I decide to do something different with it later, but as of right now, I think I'll be finished. So do this sleeve, one round of single, your other sleeve, one round of single, and I'll meet back up with you. Alright, so I'm switching colors now. I'm going to go to my secondary color, which is navy. And you don't have to use two colors, you know, you can do one. So what I'm going to be doing with the navy is putting a little trim on the sleeves, a little trim on the bottom, a little bit thicker here and here. I'm going to make the collar with it. And I think I might sew on a pocket with the blue as well. Make a little pocket for up here. Remember, all that stuff's optional. You can do whatever you like, but I think that's what I'll do. So first up then, it's just going to be some single crochet edging. I think I'll do the sleeves first, get them done with. So there's where I tied off, went around them with my main color. So we just finished that. Now I'm going to go around it with some rounds of blue. Now you don't have, or what, a secondary color. You don't have to. I'm just doing it for decoration, I guess. If I'm using a different color hook at any time in this video, just know that it is the same size. I just stop and start the videos at different times, and I have hooks scattered everywhere, so sometimes I pick up, it's the same size though, but sometimes I pick up different colors. So I'm just going to start my yarn in one of the single crochets here near the seam. And I'm just going to work some rounds of single crochet on each of the sleeves. And I'm going to try to hide these tails, carry them with me as I go. So I'm going to go back into that single crochet. And a single crochet into it. And I'm going to work around putting one single crochet into every stitch all the way around. And I will meet back up with you when we make it back around to our starting point. Now remember, all that I'm doing here is just optional. This is just like I said, just some add a little color trim to it. You know, you don't have to do any of it. If your sleeves, maybe you like the way the sleeves are right now, the length of them, that's perfectly fine. You make it how you like. But I'm going to go around just for, try to get this color to, you know, around the sleeves, and hopefully it ties in a little bit with the collar up here that I'm going to be putting on and stuff. So anyways, I'll meet back up with you here at the starting point. Alright, I've made it back to my starting point, and I'm going to use a stitch marker here so I don't have to end my row with the slip stitch, so I can just do some continual rounds of single crochet in my secondary color here. So I'm just going to use this piece of yarn, and I'm just going to jump right over to the first single crochet I made and single crochet in it. So now I'm just going to work rounds of a single crochet. Now remember, you can do as many as you want, or don't do any at all. That's, remember, it's yours, it's yours. I'm not sure how many I'll do, but I'm just going to go around, and when I make it back to my stitch marker, I'm certain I'll go around again. So I'll move my stitch marker up, go around again. I'll let you know how many total rows of this secondary color that I use here in just 1 second. All right, so I'm just going to go ahead and do three. I did 3 rows here of my accent color here. 3 rows of single crochet. I made it back to my stitch marker. I'm going to take that out. And then I'm going to slip stitch into that next stitch there. And clip that off. And you want to do the however many rows you did. You want to do the other sleeve the same. And go ahead and hide your tails. And then we will start on something else. Alright, so I got both the sleeves done. So now I'm going to do it across the bottom. The same. I think I'll just do 3 rows across the bottom. So I'm just going to go around here. I'm going to start in the corner. Okay, do you remember where we put 3 single crochets in the corner of each down here? I'm going to start in the center one of those 3 down here. Yeah. I'm going to try to, I think the center one. There it is. Okay. And then I'm just going to do the same thing I did around the sleeves. Except for, instead of working in the round, I'll just work back and forth. So, let me go. Oh my gosh. Trying to hide these tails as I go, so I don't have to sew them in later. No one likes that. Alright, chain 1, and then I'm going to work, and I'm going to put a single crochet in every stitch along the bottom of my piece. Remember, you don't have to do what I do. I always say that. I probably say it 1,000 times per video, but just know you make it your own. I mean, you can do it like me if you want, or you can do whatever you'd like. So I'm gonna go across the bottom before we do the sides and the collar. So I'm gonna work around, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch here, and then just fold around to the back, single crochet, and then when you get back around here to this other side of the front panel, when you get to that single crochet in that middle single crochet there of the 3, chain 1 and turn, and then go back around, go back again. Well, this is what I'm doing, going back again for a second row, all the way back over here to where I started. And then again, I'll chain 1 and turn, and then I'll go around 1 more time. That'll be 3, so I should end up on this side. But you do as many as you want, but since I did on 3 on the sleeves, I'm going to do 3 on the bottom. After I get that done, I think we'll go ahead and start working up the side panels and the collar and buttonholes and whatnot. Yeah, getting close, getting close. Alright, so I did my 3 rounds at the bottom. And you do have everything you want to do. It's okay if it's flipping here, if yours is. If not, it's even better. But if it is, don't worry about it. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we need to go up, start here at the bottom, and go on up here around this front panel, and 1 single crochet in every stitch. And I'll meet okay, up here's the neck. See where we're going to be putting a collar in a bit. I'll meet you here at this corner, okay? So go ahead and start our yarn down here. We're going to start it in the, down here where we ended the blue. I got so many hooks up here. I never know if I'm grabbing the. I just got to keep with my H. May not be the same color, but it is an H. Hero. All right. So I'm just going to kind of start my yarn in maybe the last stitch here that we did. It's going to be kind of hard because it's 3 rows of single. And here we go. There we go. And I'm going to chain 1. I'm going to go back into that place that I just started and put a single crochet there. And then I'm going to put 2 more single crochets. Since I did 3 rows of singles, I'm going to put 3 singles up that side. There's the first one. That would have been the second one. I'm going to do one more. That's 3 up that side there. And then I'm going to put 1 in the same spot as this last one here. And I'm going to work up the side, putting 1 single in every stitch. Just like this, until we get up to, and look at this. Don't worry, in the end we'll go around it the whole thing one time if your corners are flipping, and we'll try to make them lay flat. One final cleanup row. All right, so I'm going to continue putting 1 single crochet in every stitch up the side here. And here is the neck up here, so I'm going to meet up with you right here at the beginning of the neck. Okay, see you in a second. All right, so I've made it up here to the top. Here's my neckline, and I single crocheted into the middle stitch of that group of 3 when we went around the corner. So now what I'm going to do is chain 1. I'm not going to go around the neck right now, and I'm going to go back down the side again. So we need to create a buttonhole row, but I think I'm going to do that on the go ahead and do 3 rows. Yeah, 3 rows of single crochet. So this would be 1, go back down, 1 single crochet in every stitch until you get down here to where you started, chain 1 and turn, and that would be 2. And then go back up this side again one more time for a total of 3. So I'm just going to work back down this side, putting 1 single crochet in every stitch. So we'll do this side, the other side, and then we'll work on the collar. After that, it's okay if it's not perfectly straight up here, you know, like, because when we do the collar, it will be okay. So I'm going to continue down, back down the side that I just worked on, until putting 1 single crochet in every stitch until I get down to the bottom, and I'll see you when we get back down there. Alright, I made it down here to the bottom, single crochet in, just going to chain 1 and turn, and I'm going to do another row of 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way back up to the top. So this will be the 3rd row of single crochet on this side. So 1 single in every stitch, and I'll meet back up with you at the top. Alright, so I've made it to the top on my 3rd row here. Don't tie off. I just kind of pulled the yarn up so we don't lose it. So now we're going to have to mark off where we want to put our buttons. Now none of us are going to have the same number here because, you know, we just kind of evenly spaced out that main color row of single crochet. So what we're going to do is we're going to have to turn our work because, well, I guess we don't even have to turn it yet. We can mark it off from this way. Okay, so I mentioned the buttons I'm using are 3/4 inch, and I have 6 of them. So what I'm going to do is, since I can't go by the amount of crochet stitches I have, I'm going to use a tape measure, and I'm just going to evenly space them out the best that I can. So you're going to need, however many buttons you have, you're going to need that many stitch markers. So I'm going to take my tape measure, and I'm going to measure from right up here to where where our blue, we just ended our blue, all the way down to the bottom. And I am at 29 inches. So I want to kind of just do my best to evenly space out 6 buttons. So, dang it. You can eyeball it if you want to. You can just decide where you want them. People put their buttons different spots, so that's up to you. I think I'll put one at the 2-inch mark on mine, like that. And then I'll put one down here, 2 inches from the bottom. And the other one, the remaining 4, I'll just evenly space out. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe. See how that's gonna work out. 5. 5. Perfect! I can't believe that went perfect. So I put 2 inches at the... I'm just kidding. I did the math in my head. So I put 2 inches in the from the bottom, and then I did 2 inches from the top, and then 5 inches in between. So now yours might be different. Like I said, we could have different numbers in between. But surely it's close, right? Surely it's close. But if you have more buttons than me or whatever, you know, just kind of evenly space them out. And the amount of stitches I have between are probably not going to be exact either. Now what you want to do is take your stitch markers. I'm going to use some yarn here as my stitch markers. So I'm just going to cut off 6 pieces since I got 6 buttons. Probably normally would have liked 7, but I didn't have that. Okay, what I got here? 1, 2, 3, 4. I just got 5 and 6. Okay, we're gonna leave our. I'm gonna leave my tape here and make sure everything's approximately where it needs to be. Now, what you do is leave your buttons there and just eyeball it right over like this and try to find, I'm at my 12-inch mark here because that's where I said I want to put a button, the single crochet that's close to it, put a stitch marker in it. Okay, so there's that one. I don't want to move it too much. And then we're at the 17. Do the same. I hope you can see what I'm doing. Stop. Just taking it. I'm at my 17. And I'm just picking. It's not going to be perfect, but just trying to find a single crochet that's nearest to that. Put a marker in it. Go down here to my 22, 17, 22. This is how we eyeball it. Okay, and you get the gist. Just do this all the way down. Now I need my 27. Make sure this is at the 22 and the 27 mark right there. Did I get them all? Oh, no, I got one more at the beginning. My 2-inch mark. Make sure these, no, and my 7. Dang it. My stitch markers are gone. Oh. I dropped them. Alright, so you can move these buttons because you got those marked. But make sure you line it back up. So this one was at the 12. So I want to make sure that I put that back at the 12 so I can get the 7 lined up good. I guess you don't really need the button anymore since you got them laid out. Stitch marker. That. And one more up here. Keep that at the 7. And I'm going to put one at the 2-inch mark. This is the best that I can there. We'll say 2 inches. It's right about there. Alright. So like I said, the numbers between them are probably not going to be the same. But that's okay. They're going to be pretty close. No one's going to tell you. No one's going to be able to tell. Okay, so now that we know where we're going to put our buttons, now we can make the holes for them. So go ahead and put your yarn back on your hook like that, and we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work. So now we're going to be working on the back. Well, when we flip our work, we'll be working on the inside of our work here. So flip it, try not to lose any of my stitch markers, which I probably will. Okay, so we put a marker where we want our button to go. So we're going to go ahead and crochet, single crochet in every stitch up until the stitch before the marker. So there's 1, 2. The number doesn't matter, actually. Like I said, that they're not going to have exact numbers in between them. That's okay. We measured, so they're close. All right, since okay, I'm just gonna think of how many holes do I want to leave open for my button. Okay, I'm at the stitch before my marker. I'm gonna work a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna skip the one before my marker, skip the marker, skip the one after my marker, and single crochet in the next. So I skipped 3 there. Now let me look at that hole size. It's always good to check. Yeah, I think that might be a little too big for mine. So I'm just going to do a chain 2. 1, 2, and I'm going to skip the one before my marker, and I'm just in the one that my marker's in, and I'm going to single crochet in the one after my marker. So I did a chain 2 and I skipped 2, and now let's check out that hole size. Now remember, it depends on what size of button you have too. You just don't want them too loose. I think 3 might have been too loose for my size. Yeah, that's fine. Goes through there fine. And now what I'm going to do, you can take that marker out. That buttonhole is, well, it's made. Now we're going to single crochet all the way up until the stitch before our next stitch marker, and we're going to do the same. Now remember, if you're using bigger buttons, if you're using inch or something like that, you might need a chain of 3. Or if you're using smaller buttons, maybe a chain 1 would work for you. You just have to test it like I did and see, depending on the size of button you're using. But I'm going to work my way down here to my next marker. And when I get to the stitch before it, that's where I'll stop. All right. So I'm at the stitch before my marker. So I'm going to chain 2. I decided chain 2 is fine for my button size. And then I'm going to skip the stitch before my marker, skip the stitch with my marker, and a single crochet in the one right after. Remember, we did that chain 2 there, and that's buttonhole. Take that out, and we're going to do the same thing all the way down until we get to the bottom. All right, so I will see you in a second. All right, I've made it to the end here, so I'm going to again chain 1 and turn. So I got my holes for my buttons made. Now we have to go back. It's another row of single crochet. So we're going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet in every stitch until we get to the chain space of the buttonhole. Okay, when you get to the chain space of the buttonhole row, just go right through it and work. Well, since I chained 2, I'm going to work 2 single crochets. If you chain 3, you work 3 single crochets. Or if you chained 1, you just work 1. However many you skipped, that's how many you chain in the space And you just do this all the way up, and then you continue with 1 single crochet in every stitch up to your next chain space. And like I said, since I chain 2, I'll be putting 2 single crochets through each of my chain 2 spaces. And I'm going to do this all the way to the top, and I'll meet you back up there. Alright, I made it up here to the top, and I got all my buttonholes done. So one more time, I'm going to chain 1 and turn. I'm going to go back down one last time, and just do 1 single crochet in every stitch. There won't be any buttonhole rows because we already closed them up with the chain spaces. We've already closed them up, so just going to do 1 single in every stitch all the way down till I make it to the bottom, and then I'm going to tie it off. I'm going to go to the other side. We'll have to go to the other side and do basically the same but without the buttonholes, just the same amount of rows we did over here, over there, and that's the row that we'll sew our buttons on. Alright, so 1 single in every stitch. When you make it to the end, go ahead and tie it off, and I'll meet up with you then, and we'll start on the other side. Alright, so I made it. When I made it to the end, I was on the inside of my work, see? So I just tied off, and then I flipped my work back to the right side. So I have 6 rows of single crochet here. Don't worry, like I said, we'll be doing 1 more row at the end of single crochet, going around everything, the bottom and back up. So it'll add 1 more row facing right side up. I wouldn't leave a row on the end facing the wrong side like that. But I knew I'd be going around it 1 more time. So now what we need to do is put those same 6 rows on the other side, but no buttonholes. Just 6 rows of single crochet. But you need to make sure that the right side of your work is facing you, because that's how we started this row. So that's how we have to start this row. So probably have to start it at the top though. Well, I do. So I'll start in the 3rd stitch here. So remember, I'm on the other side, and I'm just going to do 6 rows of just regular single crochet. I'm going to start in the middle single crochet here of our group of 3. Chain 1, go back in and single crochet, and I'm going to work down, and I'm going to put 1, why is that sticking out? Single crochet in every stitch all the way down. So remember, it's the same thing that we did on the other side, except for we're not making any buttonholes. We're just doing a straight 6 rows of single crochet. Alright, so I'm going to do this all the way down, and remember we got to go down this little small part here, so you probably want to put like 3 single crochets since we had 3 rows. And then once you make it down here, you just chain 1 and turn, go back up to the top, chain 1 and turn, go back down to the bottom, chain 1 and turn, and you want to do that for a total of 6 rows of this secondary color. Remember, it's the exact same over here, except for we're not adding any buttonhole rows. It's just a straight 6 rows of single crochet. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, I got my 6 rows done on this side, just 6 rows of plain single crochet. That's where we'll sew our buttons on later after we do that final finishing round. So they'll sew over here, across, and button up. Alright, let's try to see what we can do about this collar up here, want to? Alright. Let me think for a second here. How do we want to do this? I guess single crochet, since the whole, all the other blue is single crochet. Dang, I keep losing my hook. Alright. Let's start. Do I want to start here? Let me think for a second. I'm sorry. I was going to start it here. And then I thought about... You know, I'm just gonna start it here on the end here on the edge. Let's start in the same stitch that we started this buttonhole row in. All right, so that middle one. And don't worry if it's not even, because that final finishing rows will even everything up. Yeah, I was gonna attach it here, but I think I'm gonna leave that alone on its own. So go into that same stitch that we started that row in. It's that middle single crochet. Make sure the front side of your work is facing you. And we will chain 1, and we will go back into that stitch and single crochet. I'm going to take my tail along with me, and don't worry if you have a gap there. We will, don't worry, that'll all be gone, clean. I don't leave unfinished edges. I can't do it. I always have to clean up my edges. All right, let's go ahead and work around, putting 1 single crochet here in every stitch across this little flap here on the front. Sorry about my clock if you can hear it dinging. All right, now basically what we're going to do is 1 single crochet for this first row here, all the way around, even through the crease. We're not going to do any extra stitches here on the crease. It's back around over here to the other side. Remember though, making sure that you had the front side of your work for the first row, the front side facing you. I guess it really doesn't matter since we're going to be flipping it back and forth, but all right. So I'm just going to continue around. So I'm getting ready to work across, man, this yarn, the seam area of the top shoulder. And I'm just working 1 single in every stitch. Like that. Now I'm going to continue. I'm going to work 1 single crochet across the back here of the neck area, and I'm just going to continue across the back here. Oops, 1 single, and then over here on the other side across this seam, and then I'll meet back up with you. Our last single crochet will be right here in the same stitch as where we started our buttonhole row thing. All right, so I'll meet up with you here. All right, so I've made it to the other side, and I just put my last single crochet there. So the collar is going to consist of just 2 rows. 1 row will increase on the very beginning stitch and the very end stitch, and then the next row we won't increase, and we'll just alternate those 2 rows. So let's go ahead and start. So this will be row 1. Let's go ahead and start row 2. So we're going to chain 1 and we'll turn. Now this will be our increase row. And we only increase on the very first stitch and the very last. So in this very first stitch, we're going to work 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. So that is the increase stitch. And now we're just going to continue across, working 1 single crochet in every stitch, all the way back to the other side until we get to our last stitch. And like I said, don't worry if your work is flipping, if things aren't connected. We will take care of it all. Things sometimes look funny until the very last row. I've said that many times. Sometimes things don't come together until you got one row left, and then it all, well, hopefully, knock on particle board, that it will work out. All right, so I'm going to continue this all the way across the collar area until I get back over here to this side, and I'll meet back up with you over here. All right, so I've made it here to the other side of my collar on row 2, and on the very last stitch we're going to put 2 single crochets in the last. So that is one of the repeat rows. That's the increase row. So we do 2 singles in the first and 2 singles in the last. Now row 3 we're just going to chain 1 and turn, and we are not going to do any increase rows. So it'll just be 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way to the other side. And that's the 2 rows that we will repeat until we get it as big as we want it to be. Now if you feel like the collar's too pointy for you, you don't like it, you can leave off those increase rows or not put so many of them. Like I'm doing one every other row. If you don't like that, you could do one every 2 rows, you know, something like that. It's just the less increase rows you do, the less pointier that little the ends will be, the less it'll come down. And that's just personal preference. I make them all different ways, so that's it. I'm just going to continue all the way until I get to the other side of the collar, and then I'll chain 1 and turn, and then I will repeat row 2 again, which is the increase row. 2 singles in the first stitch and 2 singles into the last stitch, and then I'll chain 1 and turn, and I'll repeat this row again, which is just 1 single crochet in every stitch and not an increase row. So I'm going to keep alternating the increase row and then the regular, just 1 single in every stitch until I get it as tall as I want it to be. I'm not sure how many rows I'm going to do. You can do yours however many you want, but I'll let you know how many I do here in just a second. Remember, if you want to follow along with me, it's increasing every other row on a single crochet, on the beginning one and on the end one. Alright, I'll see you in a bit. Alright, so I did 14 rows on the collar. You can do more or less if you'd like. That's counting that very first row, total of 14. It's okay if it's curling, but yeah, you can do more if you like. It just depends on, you know, what you want to look like, or less. Alright, so I tied off that. Now I'm gonna go around the whole entire piece. So I'm gonna flip my work to the back side here. I'm on the back, but the right side is still facing me. I'm gonna start in the seam on the back, or near the seam on the back of one of these front panels. All right. And I'm going to single crochet all the way across. All the way across. And when I get to the point here, we'll have to do some extra stitches, all right? And then single crochet all the way up this buttonhole row. Continue single crocheting all the way up to the top. And then when we get to the corner here, we'll have to do some extra. Single crochet across this. That. Something extra here at the point of our collar, single crochet across the top of the collar, and then do the same thing that we just did on the other side. So single crochet, boom, boom, you know, specials at the corners all the way down, more stitches at the corner, and then single crochet all the way across this front panel, all the way across the back and end right where we started. All right, that's just kind of a gist of the finishing row. Let's begin, shall we? So just somewhere near the seam, pick a stitch here and attach, chain 1, and then I'm going to put a single crochet now in every stitch until I get to all the way across this front panel, and until I get to the corner. So we're going to have to single crochet right here, so there's not like any visible stitches because it's the sides. So just try to put evenly spaced out single crochet here. I'll meet up with you right here, all right? So just single crochet all the way across till you make it about here, and I'll meet you there. All right, so I've come here to this first corner. You can see this is the buttonhole row. So what we're going to do is just try to, you know, pop a single crochet here at the end of each one of these single crochet rows. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do your best to kind of evenly space out some single crochets. Okay. Now we want to work up until we get one stitch from the corner. All right. Okay, so you can see right here, this is the tail for where we tied off. That's going to be our corner stitch. Now the stitch right before the corner, right there, that spot, put 2 single crochets into that stitch. There's 1 and 2. And then we're going to put only 2 into the corner stitch as well. So 2 into that corner stitch. There's 1 and 2. And then we're going to kind of turn and we're going to work up the buttonhole row. But we want to put 2 stitches in the next stitch as well, the stitch after the corner stitch. So 2 single crochets into that one. 1, 2. And then I'm going to hide this tail as I go. I'm going to just continue working 1 single crochet now up at this side here that has the buttonholes. Is where I'm at. 1 single crochet in every stitch until we make it up to the top, just like that. Now that should help a little bit with helping the corners lay a little straighter, and they still might flip a bit. Now if they do, what you do is you can wet them down and you don't have to, it's kind of like blocking, but you don't have to block the whole thing. If your corners are flipped, if they flip a bit more than what you like, if mine do that, this is what I'll do. I'm not certain how, right now it's laying pretty straight, like that wouldn't bother me. But if it was flipping more than I liked when it was done, I would just kind of wet this down with some cool water, and then I would just stick it and put a few pins in it like that, not the whole piece, just the corners that are flipping, and let it dry. And then when you take the pins out, it would lay flat. So that's what you can do if your corners are flipping more than what you like after we round them. It really kind of depends. Some people crochet tighter than others. Tighter stitches are going to flip more. Single crochet tends to flip anyways, but I think like the way this one is right now, that wouldn't bother me. I wouldn't pin that down or anything. So anyways, I'm just wanted to throw that out there in case your corners are still flipping. I wouldn't add any more stitches to it because then it's gonna kind of bow out at the bottom. You don't really want that, but all right, so I'm gonna continue this all the way up to where I got some major flipping going on up here. So I'll meet up with you near this corner, and again we're going to stop. I'll meet you at the stitch before the corner. All right, I'll see you there in a second. All right, so I've made it up here to the top. Here's my collar, and here's the point of the buttonhole row. So I'm at the stitch right before the corner. So again, I'm going to put 2 single crochets into that one. 1, 2, and then I'm going to put 2 into the corner. 1, 2, and then these stitches are not going to be extremely visible because you're working on the sides there, but that's just do your best. I'm going to put 2 into the next, wherever I place my next stitch will be right about here at the end of this single crochet row. I'm going to put 2 into that one. That. Okay, and then I'm just going to try to put 1 single crochet now at the end of each one of these. You can kind of see the whole single crochet rows there. So just 1 now. sorry about that. There's one on the end of that one. It doesn't have to be perfect, remember. It's just doing the best, that's it. Okay, here's what we're going to do right here. I'm going to go right in between. You see where this single crochet connects to this spot? I'm going to put a single crochet right in between there. And then I'm also going to put a single crochet in the same stitch that this one's in and that this one's in. So right here, just one. Like that. And now I'm going to work my way single crocheting, one single crochet evenly up the collar until I get to the point of it there. So I'm just going to go into, it's just kind of trying to work a single crochet at the end of each of the rows. That's what I try to do. We're going to do this all the way up until the stitch before the point. I'm at the spot before the point, and it's right here. I'm going to put 2 single crochets in that one. 1 and 2. And then the point here, I'm going to put 2 into that one. 1, 2, and then the stitch after. 2 into that one. 1, 2. And I'm going to work my way around the collar, actually across the top of the collar here. I'm going to hide this tail as I go. 1 single crochet in every stitch across the top here of the collar until we get to the stitch before the point on the other side. And we'll do the same thing. So I'll meet you over there. So it's just 1 single crochet across the top of the collar. Alright. All the way across here, and I'll meet up with you over here at the corner, and we'll go around this one more time. Alright, see you in a second. Alright, so I've made it here to the other corner of my collar. I'm just going to do the same thing here that we did on the other side. So the stitch before it, the corner, we'll put 2 single crochets in it, and then there's 1 and 2, and then in the corner 2 singles, 1 and 2, and then the stitch after. And remember, working down the side of this collar, you just got to kind of go at the end of the rows of single crochets. That's what I do. So the stitch after, right here, looks good. 2 into that one. There we go. Now we'll just continue down like we did on the other side. I'm just kind of going to put 1 single kind of at the end of every row of the single crochets. Do my best to evenly space out. This yarn is so splitty on me. If you're using it, hopefully it's not doing that to you. Alright. And we're going to go all the way down here, working that 1 single. It looks like I'm going to have to wet some of my corners, so I'll have to show you guys how to do that. Alright, yeah, sometimes you have to do that no matter how many, especially when you're using a lot of singles. All right. So I'm coming down here to the end of my collar. Get the stitch here. All right, so, and then right here, the flip of the other side of the buttonhole row. Okay, so we're gonna go into this spot right here, just like we did on the other side. Single crochet. And then into this stitch here that we got all these other stitches going into. One in there. That connects that collar to the buttonhole row. And then evenly space out your single crochets across the side of this buttonhole row until you get to this stitch before the corner. And then we'll do the same thing we did, or that we've been doing at every corner. So here we are, the stitch before, 2 singles, the corner, 2 singles, and then the stitch after. So I'm going to flip it here around to the side, 2 singles. And now I'm going to work 1 single crochet all the way down this side of the buttonhole row, and I'll meet up with you down here at this flippy corner at the bottom. All right, I'll see you there in just a second. All right, so I've made it down here to my bottom corner, my last bottom corner. We're getting close. So I'm at the second stitch before the corner, so I'm going to put 2 singles into that one, 2 singles into the corner. Now I want to flip it, and we're going to be working across the bottom of the shirt. 2 singles in the stitch after the corner. All right. Now we're on a straight run to the end of just 1 single crochet in every stitch here. So it's kind of put a single crochet there at the end of every row here. The finish line is approaching. All right, here it is. 1 single crochet in every stitch across the bottom until we make it right back here to this seam where we started. And then all we have to do is add the pockets. So add a pocket if you want. You don't even have to do that, or pockets, or you don't. Yeah, like I said, you don't have to. And sew on some buttons. All right, let me finish this out. Yeah, that's you dipping on me, aren't you? All right. All right, I finally made it around with that last finishing row. So I'm just going to go ahead and end by slip stitching into the very first single crochet that was made there. And then we can tie this off, hide this tail, hide any other remaining tails that you have. And I'll meet back up with you here in just 1 second. All right, here it is. My piece is being contrary up here at the collar. So I'm going to have to let it down and pin it down like this because I have a button. It's going to be right here. Well, I think I got a button hole somewhere up here. Yeah, right here. Sorry. Sew the button and then these will flip down. Oh, you yarn. I thought for certain you would lay flat for me. Here I was telling everybody it's going to lay flat. Like I said, some people crochet tighter than others. And single crochet sucks at that anyways. But we'll get it fixed. It's not hard to fix that. All right, so, well, I'm going to put a pocket on right here. If you want to do that, you can. And then, other than that, all we have left to do is sew on the buttons. So, you just use a thread and needle, regular thread and needle, or you could use yarn, any yarn needle, to do your buttons. I'm going to flip this collar up here, get it out of the way. You just make sure that your piece is lined up all the way down on the buttonhole row, right? Down, all the way down. And make what you do is you overlap the whole row with the other one, and make sure it's even at the top, and make sure it's all lined up even at the bottom as well. And then all you do is, I always just kind of use my finger to, here's my the hole, and then I'll just slide the button underneath it, and then I move that, and I know that button needs to be sewn there, so I'll sew it on with the regular thread and needle. Sorry about my dog. And then once that's sewn on, you just find your next buttonhole right here. Keep sure everything's all nice and even. Keep my finger through there, and I know my button needs to go right here, so I'll sew that on right there. The regular thread needle, I'll do that all the way down until all my buttons are sewn on. Just make sure though you sew them up, you sew them in the center of this over here when you overlap it, that the top is even up here. This is all even all the way down, and then it's laying even at the bottom as well. So your buttons will all be even and in line. All right. So once you get everything done, we'll say your buttons are on and your pockets on. I haven't done that yet, but I will. I'm going to actually, because it's late, so I'm going to actually just go ahead and block mine down, so when I wake up it'll be blocked, and I'm not blocking the whole thing, just these little corners and whatnot, and then I can just finish up, sew the buttons on and sew the pocket on and be done. All right, so now you can okay, let's talk about it real quick. Now this is going to depend on what type of yarn you're using. Okay, I'm using a merino, or a wool yarn. If you're using a wool yarn, it's best to wet block it. All right, so that's what I'm going to do. And if you're using an acrylic, it's best to steam block that. And I will tell you how to do that. Also, if you go to YouTube, you know Marley Bird from Red Heart, the ambassador for Red Heart, she has an excellent video on how to block acrylic. It's very easy to do, both of these. But remember, I'm not blocking the whole thing. You can if you block, you know. I don't really like blocking, but so I have blocking boards, but you don't have to use blocking boards. They're just foam pads. You can block on, since I'm, yours might not even need block, you know what I mean? Maybe yours is laying flat. Mine just isn't. And maybe you're okay with it being like that. That's fine too. You know, you could always put little buttons here. You know how some colors have buttons? That's actually a pretty good idea. And I wouldn't have to block. No, I'll still show you though. So you don't have to use these. You just need to use something, anything at all that you can stick pins into. So you can block on a rug, the carpet, a piece of foam, anything, your bed, just someplace that it can, if you're using like a wool like me, someplace that you can set it there, and it can sit there overnight to dry. All right, and that pins will stick into. If you're using acrylic and you are steam blocking, that doesn't have to sit there. I mean, you steam block it, it just sets for a bit, I believe, and then it's just done. Once you steam block it, it's just you can take it off the pin it down, steam block it, and then you're done. So anyways, since I'm using these blocking boards, I'm gonna put them underneath my shirt. Just a second. All right, I'll be showing in the worst possible way a teacher could show anybody. I do have a video on how to block properly, but this is like a quick job because I only want to do a couple places. So normally you would submerge your whole piece in water for wool. So I'm showing you how to do the wool first. I don't want to do that, so I got a bottle of water here, and I'm just going to. You can use, actually, spray bottle would be ideal. I don't have one, so I'm going to get my piece nice and wet and let it. is soak in there. It's okay if your other piece gets wet because it's going to dry. The places that you want to, yeah, trust me, a water bottle would have been much more ideal. But I like to always do things the hard way for some reason. All right, let it sit there for a minute. And I'm going to have to get a towel to soak up some of that extra water. But see how I folded these down? Because what I did was I found where my button was going to be, my top button. I should have put them on first. I didn't. That's another thing. And I knew that was going to fold over like that. But anyways, you can adjust them after the fact. Okay, so you let that sit there and soak in that water. And I'm going to go get a towel and sop up some of my mess here. All right. That's super embarrassing, actually, the way I'm even showing you. Now I'm just going to do this and press it and get any extra water out, you know, that for some reason I decided. I didn't have a spray bottle. I had to, you got to do what you got to do. I had to dump it. It'll dry. It's okay. It will dry. All right. There, I got all my, it's good enough. It's going to dry. All right. Then you take some pins, whatever your, doesn't matter what type of pins you have. Just some pins to stick. And you poke them to hold them there. Make sure you get it in the spot that you want it. Guess it doesn't really matter. It's just to get those ends down. All right. All right, we want the ends to stay. So, there. Now, pin them in place. You can use a bunch of pins if you want. I tend to use way too many, but and now that's going to stay. After it dries, the corners shouldn't flip. Shouldn't. Let's hope not, right? And that's how you do it. So if your bottoms are flipping a bit too, you just do the same thing down there. Now, if you are using acrylic, you would lay it on whatever, lay it on, you can do it on an iron board. If you need a steamer of some sort, so you can use like an iron. If you have an iron, and you can just put it on your iron board, you pin it down first, and then you put steam over it until it sets still when you take the pins off of it. But like I said, I would probably recommend watching Marley Bird on YouTube for how to steam block acrylic. You can wet block acrylic. It just is, I mean, it'll work. Not quite as good as steam blocking, but, and like I said, you don't even have to block it. I don't even really know why I'm doing it. I just couldn't stand the flip up. Plus, if anybody was having more flip ups than me, I wanted to be able to show you how to take care of that. Okay. And that's it. So, like I said, if you got any flips at the bottom, douse it down in water like I did, and pin it to something. Pin it to your bed. Well, you probably got to sleep in it. Pin it to the carpet, pin it to the rug, pin it to whatever. Just whatever it sticks to. There we go. Let it dry overnight, and that's it. Alright, so for the pocket, not everybody's going to want to put a pocket on it, and that's okay. But it's very easy. All I did was 24 rows of single crochet. So I chained 21, and then I single crocheted from the second stitch from my hook, and then single crocheted all the way across the chain. And that left me with 20 single crochets. And then I just did rows of single crochet. So I have 24 rows of 20 single crochets. Make your pocket bigger, smaller, or don't even make one at all. That's up to you. And then to put it on, however you, or wherever you want to put it. Let's see, I got told it goes on the left side. I'm just going to use a yarn needle and just sew around here neatly, here, and here, and leave this open at the top. I tied off a long tail so I could sew with it. and I started with the long tail so I could sew with that too. I don't know if I'll need that much, but I'm going to use the yarn needle. Now I'm going to pin mine where I want it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it and kind of putting it in the center of the main color here. I went down about 6 or 7 inches, but I'm just gonna want to go through the first layer, so we don't want to do both layers, but just a second here. Yeah, I'm just gonna put a couple pins in it to hold it there, make sure it stays straight while I sew it. I don't want it to go crooked on me. Have a crooked pocket. It's happened so many times. All right. It probably will be crooked anyways. That's all right. There we go. And I'm just trying to keep it straight by lining it up with the columns here of these little brick stitches. And then we can sew it on and be done. Get your buttons on. Okay, I think that's pretty straight. Look good to you? Looks good to me. I wish we had a mirror. All right. Sorry that took me so long. Yarn needle. Made my tail. Remember, we're just going to sew around the 2 sides and the bottom. And I'm just going to kind of neatly sew it around the edge. Nothing special. I'm just going to try to keep it lined up here with where the other one, where my line's at. So I just go through like this, just going through this one panel. Sorry about my dog, he's always barking. Like that. And then I'll come back up the other side and I will come back up through the other side neatly. You want to do it as neatly as possible, so the seam in the back is pretty neat. But come back up around the edge, just like that. And this is what I'm going to do all the way down. Just, like I said, as neatly as I can. Back through. And then I'm going to take that one pin out. Take your pins out as you go. And neatly back through from the opposite side. Oh, completely missed it. Yeah. If you want to sew it on a different way, go ahead. It's whatever works for you. So, all right. So I'm going to continue this down here, across the bottom, and up here, and then I'll tie it off and sew any tails I got left. All right. Once you get your button sewed on, it is finished. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and check out all my hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of other tutorials. If you make this, I'd love to see it. You can show me a picture on my Bag a Day Crochet Facebook page. It's great, nice community, and it's the best place to get any questions answered about any of my designs. I'm on there, and moderators are so helpful, and all the people on there are so helpful. You'll really, really like it. So, hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye, guys.